With you.
Interestingly enough, a byproduct of any lack of a federal movement to raise the minimum wage seems to have really kind of allowed for things to strike up from the grassroots, like we saw at this movement over in Illinois. Has that sort of been a decent byproduct of congressional inaction? Is that it's actually spurred the labor movement to rise up and people to try and declare that they should have better living conditions?
Well, I think that's a part of it. But I think in general, this movement is springing up out of the fact that, workers have had enough. And we keep seeing the statistics. If you look at what the average CEO makes compared to the average fast food worker, they make 1,200 times as much as the average fast food worker. And workers are saying, you know what, we show up, we do a great job. It's time that we actually enjoy some of the profits that we help this company make. So, the lack of inaction at the federal level certainly helps the momentum in the states. And I think it's the evidence is in. We're seeing it take off in major cities across the country and sort of like wildfire across states.
And any day now, the National Labor Relations Board, we could see a ruling out of them that would in fact allow workers at McDonald's to sort of unionize nationally. What would that mean if that were to move forward?
Well, that would be pretty exciting. I think, one of the reasons why being able to organize, unionize, and collectively bargain with your employer is that it helps raise wages throughout the entire labor market. And one of the reasons why we see such massive inequality today is because, while, on paper that right still exists, the reality is workers have been fought aggressively through court cases, through employers hiring outside firms to beat back union drives. And that has led to damage for all of us. It has helped fuel the rising inequality in this country, where you see the top 1%, the CEOs, walking away with the lion's share of the profits.
Tamara, one thing I come back to when we hear about this debate, and it kind of feeds into what we saw with the health care laws, especially after the Supreme Court ruling. Governors can have the choice of whether or not they want to expand Medicaid. You're now sort of seeing this grassroots mobilization in blue states about raising the minimum wage, albeit it's around the country. But when you see places like Seattle going for a $15 an hour minimum wage, you see these movements to push that in New York and places like Illinois. And you saw this already happen in places like Michigan and Minnesota, Maryland, and you also see it in Massachusetts. Are we now sort of seeing this real this showcasing of the two Americas because of this type of legislation, that essentially you see one America with a higher minimum wage with access to health care and another America that's more than happy to do the federal minimum of $7.25 and not expand that Medicaid? What does that mean for the future?
Yeah, well, that map really underscores the need for a federal law that mandates a higher minimum wage, because the reality is we are seeing a splintering, and that's why you need a basic federal standard, because the reality is workers in Alabama and Mississippi and Georgia, they deserve a higher minimum wage just as much as the workers in Maryland, New York, and Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely something to keep an eye on. That'll be a fault line for our population moving forward. Tamara Draut with Demos, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Luke.
After the break.